today. I'm the Director General of the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. And a coalition means nothing if you don't have partners in the coalition. So it's really important. The topic of discussions today is really about partnerships. So while I'm the Director General, I only head the secretariat of a coalition, but it's all of the members here, which are now 51 countries and actually very soon 52 countries and 10 organizations that are part of this coalition. We're about 6 years old. We are really trying to build partnerships where the disasters that we keep facing, we've got Vice Minister from Cuba here. He just had Melissa Gopai. We had the Vice Minister from Jamaica here, and we've got you from Jamaica as well. You've seen Melissa just come through. The challenges that we're seeing are not going, countries on their own are not going to be able to address these challenges. We've got gentlemen from Nepal, they had a massive earthquake. Again, not something you can take care of on your own. So the importance of partnerships in this whole discourse of resilient infrastructure has many layers to it. There's political partnerships, there's technical partnerships, there's partnerships between people, partnerships between communities on what do you need to do for getting prepared for tomorrow. So as a coalition, as a secretariat, it's really important for us to make sure that the partners who are really joining this coalition are actually engaged in this coalition. So from the point of view this evening is really sort of hear from you a little bit on your reflections. We're still a very new coalition. We've been in existence for the last 6 years. We want to hear from you as to how you see the coalition getting stronger through partnerships. I know we've asked all of you to give some thoughts to that. I'm going to invite one by one some key people to come and join us. So let me start with His Excellency Mr. Dale Weber, Special Envoy for Climate Change, Environment, Ocean and Blue Economy for Jamaica. We'll start with your comments, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you for the opportunity to share. It was like a whirlwind. It was like a storm. It was like nothing we'd ever thought of. But October 28th, Jamaica changed, and the lives of many persons there changed. Category 5 hurricanes don't come across very often, but now they do even more often than they did before. And having survived a Category 4 that didn't come on land last year, and trying to do resilient rebuilding, here comes a Category 5 a year later, which passed right along the island. 50 deaths, very sorry to say. 190,000 houses destroyed. 51% of our forests damaged. Jamaica is in a bad shape, but we're resilient. And by partnerships, we've been able to build resilience in what we do. The partnerships that we've built with the CDRI has helped us as we shaped the beginning of this discussion back in 2021. We saw it being essential for us to partner and for us to share what we knew. What we knew scientifically, what we knew environmentally, what we knew physically, what we knew economically, to try and set the stage, not knowing that we would be the very same ones who would need to now be looking to partners to help. But we thought we were going to share this with many others. And for us, it was a great opportunity to be a part of a movement and to share. As we look forward, the changes that are happening are not just in hurricanes. Jamaica is also in an earthquake zone. So the multiplicity of the possible damage that can occur means that we need to plan for many things. And in our preparation, we need to decide what is possible. We had just built a 12-foot wall, a seawall, to protect a hospital in Black River. And we thought this was a resilient move. Here comes a 13-foot storm surge, which overtopped, took the entire hospital and the police station and the courthouse. And Black River, I will tell you, was the first town in Jamaica to have electricity. and the first town in Jamaica to have water running in pipes, and it happened before New York. That town is completely decimated now. So the question is, are we going to rebuild it? Are we going to rebuild it there? Are we going to rebuild it in the same way that we did before? And certainly the answer has to be no, there must be changes, and we must make a difference. As we look to the future, the eyes of the world are on Jamaica right now. We're all thinking, what do we do next? The responses have been overwhelming, and we want to thank many partners. CARICOM, SEDIMA, we have partners in CARFA. They have all come to our rescue to try and improve our situation, because we are right now still in the recovery mode. Then we're going to have to do some, well, emergency mode now, recovery to come, and then rebuilding. And it is as we look at the rebuilding that we're going to have to look to our partnerships to make a difference. Jamaica is also blessed in that we have partners who have helped us in the past. Not only have we had help building hospitals, building roads, building infrastructure, but we've had knowledge sharing, which has allowed us the opportunity to do this. And the CDRI has been a partner, bringing that kind of resource and information to us. As we build for the future, our question is, what can we do differently? For me, it touches me very personally. I'm the director of a Center for Marine Sciences with the largest marine biology lab in Jamaica. It's on the north coast. It's halfway between Montego Bay and Ocho Rios. All the roofing has been gone. Science is now going to be at a standstill because we're unable to house those who would normally come and do science. But here's my question. I could rebuild that roof for $5 million Jamaican dollars and get up and running in 3 weeks. But is that what I should do? These storms are now the future. They are here and there will be more. To rebuild in a resilient way, that roof can be redone, but it's going to cost us $30 million to properly deck it and membrane and ensure that no Category 5 will ever damage it again. Resilience is about thinking for the future while living in the present. Jamaica's largest tourism hub is Montego Bay, completely decimated, but we need to rebuild. We could put back all the electricity poles and have electricity running in Jamaica, back in Montego Bay, for $2 million. And we could do that probably over a week or two. But why put back poles to have the next hurricane do that again? Is that resilience? No. So we're planning to go underground. That's going to cost us $62 million to go underground with all our wiring. But if this is our tourism hub, which is responsible for 30% of the GDP of Jamaica, and I would just put it out there that what we lost in 24 hours of a hurricane was exactly 30% of our GDP. So for me, the trade-off is simple. I'm no economist, but I certainly will allow my environmental hat to advise the government of Jamaica as we make the decisions. Those decisions rest on partnerships, and CDRI is one of our partners who will help us find the other partners, World Bank, IDB, GEF, all the partners who will help us rebuild. We must rebuild stronger. We must rebuild with the future while thinking of the present. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I think, the question of resilience, we have to do it, right? We have to absolutely do it. And where do you get the expertise, right? I mean, our engineers, our professionals are not necessarily trained to say how do you go beyond how we are building already, right? And I think that's where the partnership model becomes really, really critical, because the expertise may or may not be sitting in your country, but it may be sitting in other countries, or it may be sitting in other people who've gone through these experiences. Your experience will help inform others. And I think that's the opportunity of partnership, which if we get it right, we can make a difference. If we don't get it right, we're just repeating the mistakes again and again. Thank you so much for your comments. I'm going to now invite, is the representative from Maldives here? I'm not seeing him here yet, so maybe I'll move on to Mr. Thiago, who will join us from Brazil. You'll have to introduce yourself, because Close was supposed to speak, but I think he's not. So maybe you'll introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Thiago Casagrande. I am a senior analyst at the Ministry of Transport of Brazil. The Undersecretary of Sustainability, Mr. Clovis, was here but had an urgency at the ministry, a call, but I'm happy to represent the ministry here. We were earlier today, right, here with all of you, presenting the report, right, Global Infrastructure Resilience Report, and much of what was said earlier and by the representative of Jamaica here. Also in Brazil, we have, like many countries, we are feeling the impact of climate-related impacts, right? So we represent the transport sector, but I'm talking about all the infrastructure in Brazil is feeling the climate impacts. And we are talking here about partnerships. So we would like, of course, to thank CDRI for the partnership. We mentioned earlier that we are together making a pathway to use, for example, the index GIRI of CDRI, to use it for Brazil in a different scale on states of Brazil, but we need much more advancement in prevention, right? For climate resilience, we need a better infrastructure. Preventions, we talk about insurance. That is a topic that we yet don't have in Brazil. A clear pathway. We need to talk about it here in COP. We are talking about it. The financing and insurance for climate-related events for infrastructure. It was mentioned here. Of course, we need to build back better, right? We don't need the same infrastructure. We need new infrastructure, with resilience added to it. So, in all of this, we need to align with research and technology. And we are happy this week that the University of São Paulo joined the IDEX University Consortium from CDRI. So they are a partner of the MOT in Brazil. And I think we are talking about partnership, so we need everyone. We need the university, we need the government, we need the different stakeholders that work with the transport infrastructure and other infrastructure, all of them working towards adding resilience to the infrastructure. I think it's a great topic to discuss at COP, and I congratulate CDRI for the pavilion and welcome you all to Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you, Thiago. Thiago highlighted a partnership of universities that we have set up. So when you think about how do you influence resilience today, tomorrow, day after, it's today's professionals who need to understand things better, and it's the training of tomorrow's professionals who need to really get the thinking right. I joke, but when you have gray hair, you can joke. I didn't learn anything about climate sciences when I was studying. I studied architecture and urban planning, and I never studied about climate 30 years ago. That time it was all about new buildings and new technologies, never about learning from how climate change is going to affect communities. Today, that has to be very central to education. But how do you do that? How do you actually, and there are some countries that have this embedded in their curriculums, others don't. So for us, again, academic partnerships are equally important. Data partnerships, we are trying to build, we have a global model of risk, and we're trying to now downscale it for countries so that countries can make better decisions. A lot of countries can go to the market. If you're affluent enough, you can go to the market and buy services. A lot of countries are not able to do that. So we are trying to bring, the data piece of it, the professionals who can start to share experiences, right? So thank you for highlighting the academic partnership. I'd like to invite Ambassador Carmen Azurin to join us as well. Please. She's the director from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'm glad we're not at a very high platform today, but please, over to you.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation to share some ideas from Peru as a partner to the coalition. Peru reaffirms its strong commitment to international cooperation for resilient infrastructure and recognizes the essential role of the coalition to advance collective action. As one of the countries most exposed to climate hazards, Peru is committed to disaster risk reduction, and climate resilience at the core of its national strategies for development. We have a national disaster risk management system and also our national adaptation plan. And we are working to systematically integrate risk-informed planning, resilient public investment, and the protection of critical infrastructure. These efforts are crucial for facing and safeguarding lives and preserving economic continuity and ensuring sustainable development in the face of increasing climate-related events. We value CDRI's contribution as a global platform that facilitates technical cooperation, promotes shared standards, and supports countries in translating commitments into actionable strategies. Strengthening resilient infrastructure cannot be achieved in isolation. It requires coordinated solutions, knowledge exchange, and access to capacity building and finance. Peru stands ready to deepen collaboration with CDRIs and partner countries, and we acknowledge the collective progress being made towards embedding resilience into climate and development planning. We see COP30 as an opportunity to accelerate this global momentum, to reaffirm our political commitment, and advance towards a future where infrastructure systems are prepared to anticipate, withstand, and recover from the impacts of climate change. We look forward to working together to achieve our shared vision of resilience. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. When you're a coalition, and when you say you're a coalition of 51 countries and 10 organizations, it's not easy to actually understand what each country is doing. So the value of partnership is not one way. The value of partnership is actually two ways, where countries also come to us and say, this is what we would want you to do. So, when this coalition is trying to do any programs and initiatives, it's not the team at the secretariat that's deciding. It's actually members from the coalition. I see Shmoy sitting here, uh, who's been participating in our flagship IRIS program on the steering committee. We have members from different countries who are actually participating on how the coalition supports each other. Right? So I think, to me, I will always keep repeating. The coalition is all about the partnerships. Right? And I want different members to actually recognize and feel like they're very much part of this. This is not an agenda being driven only by the Secretariat. I'm going to invite our gentleman from Nepal. Please, Dr. Maheshwar Dhakal, Senior Joint Secretary from the Ministry of Forest and Environment from Nepal. Love to hear your thoughts on partnerships.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for inviting me as a panel in this important event. And I really, my solidarity to Jamaica, what I read the news, Excellency, Nepal also face various kinds of disasters. Even last summer, we lost more than 100 people, even within the one seasons. It's really terrible. If we do not make a coalition or partnership, what you are talking about it, partnership, the partnership, in my opinion, is done unless and until we understand the sense of urgency of the disasters. Particularly, I am being the mountainous country and landlocked country, then my understanding in terms of partnership is not only sharing the money or support in the difficult positions, but we need the sharing of informations and support. I would say two example. Last summer season, we face the gulf and erratic rainfall in the mountainous region. The gulf is not induced in our own land, but it was induced our neighbor, the northern part of China side. And ultimately the disaster reached to the downstream and millions of people are affected up to the sea level rise through Indian lowland, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. Then my point is partnership means sharing the information at regional level where we can work together in the team. At COP30 President Brazil, colleagues is always asking Muchirao and changing by choice together what you are calling to the all COP30 delegates. That's why partnership at regional level, not only the financial capacity building or access to the technology, what we are talking here in negotiation process, but partnership in information sharing and support the affected countries in the team and together. This is my simple understanding what I would say, but in broader scale, of course, the climate finance ultimately we need to support who are the most vulnerable, then definitely partnership at regional level and partnership at global level. If we see for the institutions like this CDRI is a larger global institutions, then your institutions can think more broader scale at global level, how to place the money, how to fulfill the commitment under Paris Agreement Article 9.1 and even Article 9.2 or 3 or 5, whatever we are talking here in climate finance. But at the same time, we have to think at a regional level to support each other and strengthen our collective actions. This is my understanding, sir. Thank you very much.
I think really thank you for highlighting that point. Often we forget that disasters are boundaryless, right? I mean, what you highlighted, Glof, there is no boundary, a country's boundary doesn't stop precipitation patterns to change, right? And so for us as a coalition, again, how does one facilitate conversations? How does one facilitate sharing of data? How does one facilitate regional cooperation, particularly to reduce disaster risk? We're trying it. We've got a program right now with Dominican Republic and Haiti, where they're sharing capacity building of experts who can do post-disaster needs assessment. So if one country is hit, expertise from another country can be easily provided, right? So, but these are not easy to solve. And so I think I'm glad that you highlighted that as well. This session is really meant to bring forward different voices from the members. I'm looking at my colleague who's been hired. Sorry, just. So I'd like to invite Ambassador from Maldives, Ali Sharif. Can you join us as well? Yeah. I was looking for you, but I couldn't see you sitting. Some thoughts from your side.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I was running from the other end. So, well, just to cut short, of course, we learned quite a lot from this NAMI event in 2004. That our institutions were not really prepared, even our Met Office, even our Disaster Management Authority. So we learned quite a lot, and then we thought that it would be really, really crucial to take advantage of this kind of initiatives. And actually, we have been, part of this, and we are actually benefiting from this. So just to put, some of the results through the Enhancing National and Subnational Capacity for Resilient Infrastructure project, the CDRI is, equipping about 187 of our islands with the skills and tools needed to plan and operate and maintain the resilient infrastructure for the climate resilience. And also similarly through the enhancing risk information for infrastructure in Kiribati, Maldives and Timor-Leste, CDRI is improving how the Maldives assesses climate and disaster risk across transport, power and telecommunication systems. And these projects show, true value of partnership and really how the expertise and the experience among the various, most importantly, it's the similar environment, among the countries, how that is being shared and how that, that could be utilized to design solutions for the disaster preparedness. So for now, I'll keep that short there.
Thank you so much. And I think we have a flagship program for island nations, um, where we facilitate support, technical grants support to island nations to look at emerging risks from climate change. Right. I think that's how we'll support Jamaica. That's how we've supported Maldives. But again, it's on the facilitation of support doesn't mean we know the answers. The facilitation of support is only for you to then be able to reach out through us to others who may have dealt with these challenges. So now Jamaica will be wrestling over the next few years on how do you reconstruct from a resilience point of view. That experience is going to be incredibly valuable to other countries who may, again, we're not going to be getting rid of cyclones anytime soon. Particularly these category 5 keep coming again and again. So I think from that point of view, the coalition, the ambition of this coalition really is how does one learn quickly, how does one share quickly, and how does one do it in a way where it is not about which country did what. It's more about this is needed, who has the best expertise, the South-South cooperation, the South-North cooperation, the North-South cooperation. When it comes to disasters, there's no boundaries, right? These are actually required because expertise may be sitting in one part of the world. How does one facilitate it quickly and make it accessible to a country that needs it immediately? Right? That's the role of a coalition. That's the role of fast-tracking through partnerships to support that country's need. I'll stop here. We have 2 announcements, so maybe we'll get to those, and then there is another follow-up discussion with a few key additional partners. We've got a long list of partners, so we have to manage how many people. But thank you so much for all of you for joining us. Thank you.
Só que tem um detalhe, ele precisa entregar pelo menos 50% de material carbono neutro ou carbono negativo, portanto, ou terra crua ou fibras naturais, como madeira, em cada desses pavimentos.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, speakers, for your insightful interventions. Today, we are also making 2 important partnership announcements. The first one is, we are very happy to report you that Republic of Armenia is joining us as 62nd member of this coalition. I will welcome His Excellency Mr. David Nazian, Head of Department of Multilateral Policy and Development Cooperation. I'll request Director General CDRI to hand over the membership letter to Republic of Armenia, and a warm welcome to them.
Pode passar para o próximo slide. Primeiramente, gostaria de agradecer, mas essa lei ela funciona apenas para tipo de empreendimento.
Republic of Armenia is taking a lot of initiatives to enhance resilience of their infrastructure. They are working very closely with partners and development agencies. I'll request Ambassador David Nazian to address the gathering.
É possível edificar vários pavimentos em cima de edificações já existentes feitas de madeira.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon. I thank the CDRI for organizing this high-level side event and the kind invitation to contribute to the deliberations. It's a distinct pleasure to be part of such a representative panel. Allow me to share a bit of our national perspectives on how we integrate disaster resilience in our adaptation policies and strategies. Armenia is one of the most hazard-exposed countries in our region, shaped by active seismic faults, weather extremes, landslides and floods. Just to give you an example, back in 1988, the earthquake claimed more than 25,000 lives and destroyed more than 40% of our residential area of the country. And the scale of catastrophe was such that even despite the Cold War, the Soviet Union was forced to accept international assistance. And it was puzzling to see NATO military transport airplanes landing in the Soviet Union airports and bringing assistance, equipment and so on and so forth to the disaster affected country. Just last year we experienced floods which claimed many lives and destroyed dozens of kilometers of our railways, dozens of bridges, electricity grids, and so on and so forth. Therefore, we fully recognize that resilient infrastructure is not an option, but it's a fundamental condition for the national security, sustainable development, and the nation's well-being. And every disruption to energy, transport, and health systems immediately translates into socio-economic loss and affects our communities, especially the most vulnerable. And in recent years, Armenia has embarked on a comprehensive transformation of the disaster risk governance. With the adoption of a new disaster risk management law and the ongoing development of the National Adaptation Plan, we are integrating resilience into the planning documents, design standards, and investment cycles. Our vision clearly aligns with the Sendai framework as well as the global goal on adaptation to ensure that essential infrastructure and public services can withstand the pressures of the rapidly changing climate. Just like the distinguished special envoy from Jamaica mentioned, we need to speak about future now, right now. And since the launch of the Sendai framework, we have registered progress in building resilience at the national level. However, the implementation of the framework has also faced a number of challenges related to the limited data and information, complex and overlapping mandates, limited financial resources, and insufficient prioritization of the risk reduction and resilience building. And to address these challenges, we need to have coordinated and collaborative approach with involvement of all stakeholders. It's not just the business of governments. And enhancing political will for resilience building, and so on. And it is in this context that Armenia has expressed its readiness and intention to join the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. We see CDRI as a strategic platform where shared knowledge, science-based methodologies, and partnership-driven action come together. And as we reinforce our seismic safety agenda, modernize our dams and water systems, and enhance monitoring and early warning networks, CDRI's expertise can accelerate our technical development and capacity strengthening across all levels of government. We are equally committed to contribute to this collective effort. Armenia's experience in managing risks in mountainous environments, where every road, energy line, or school must be engineered against earthquakes, landslides, and climatic stress, offers the opportunity to also share our knowledge with the partner countries. Colleagues here, our distinguished colleague from Nepal referred to the cooperation, South-South cooperation, and I am pleased to note that last year we received a delegation from Nepal, a very representative delegation comprising of a number of representatives from line ministries, to share with them our preparation for the VNR, Voluntary National Report, on how we implement the Sustainable Development Goals. And to our surprise, they were so prepared that they were torturing our line ministries, their colleagues, asking to receive information, knowledge, technologies which we use, frameworks which we utilize. And we were very pleased that we can do something for our fellow brothers from Nepal, which is in fact the same. We face the same conditions: mountainous countries, no access to the sea, seismic risks, and so on. Financing remains one of our challenging dimensions for adaptation. We look to CDRI to advance innovative co-financing models and risk-informed public investment frameworks that help countries like ours to bridge the resilience financing gap. And every penny invested today in protective and adaptive infrastructure prevents exponential greater costs tomorrow. Armenia is joining this coalition with a clear message. Together we can turn global commitments into tangible resilience for our cities, villages, and our citizens. By partnering through CDRI, we are helping to build a future where infrastructure is not only does not only power development, but it protects it. I thank you, dear colleagues.
Thank you so much. I think we can have you here for a minute more. And I just felt wrong, actually. I shouldn't be the one welcoming him. The previous members of the coalition, you have to actually welcome Armenia to the fold. So, we're really thankful and glad that you're joining. And I think you touched upon two things I want to echo. One, while we're sitting in the COP and it's all about climate, earthquakes, which may not be climatic as a risk, is still a big risk. Right? And the way we look at disaster preparation, the way we look at reconstruction, it's not sometimes very different. So the climate discussion and the disaster discussion sometimes stays in different poles, but it's actually not sometimes. The methodologies and the frameworks are not very different sometimes. The second point you highlighted is, how your own experiences can be brought to the others. And I think the mountain geography, while we've talked about islands, we've talked about landlocked countries, mountain geographies are unique in themselves as well. And we're dealing with a certain amount of fragility that plays havoc on infrastructure. Roads get completely landslides completely destroy roads. So your experiences, we would be very happy to also see how those can be brought to others. So thank you so much for being this 52nd country now joining the coalition. I'm sorry I will not be able to add you this week, I think, but we may try. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, Ambassador Nazian. We will move to our second announcement. We are very happy to announce that we will be signing a memorandum of cooperation with Republic of Cuba. CDRI and Republic of Cuba have decided to collaborate on knowledge development and capacity building, technical assistance, and also on jointly advocating the cause of DRI at global forums. I now invite Mr. Luis Angel Macarano to sign the memorandum of cooperation along with the Director General. We have arranged the table at the back. This MOU is just a testament of how CDRI's work is getting integrated into national priorities of national governments, and we really hope that this cooperation will strengthen Cuba's national capacities and their ability, or the infrastructure's ability to withstand the catastrophes that are occurring here, and increasingly every year.
Outra coisa que é interessante que a gente puxou de Singapura, e a gente quer tentar trazer para as educações de Maringá, é o incentivo para as fachadas dele. Em São Paulo, eles implementaram isso em 78 também, então uma cota bem significativa do que em Singapura, mas isso traz para a cidade uma qualidade de design que é difícil de conseguir de qualquer outra forma. E a parte boa é que ela pode ser parada. Essa daqui que vocês estão vendo, por exemplo, é uma estrutura normal, construída em parede de concreto, só que eles usaram caibras de madeira para fixar essas estruturas para as plantas crescerem na fachada. Então a gente tem uma boa qualidade arquitetônica por um custo que caberia a excelente adequação da parte do mercado de energia. Nosso sonho sendo que os empreendimentos de habitação social possam como aquele ali que vocês viram. Segunda característica, agora a gente vai trabalhar com a parte de centro de tratamento, a mais barata de todas.
I now invite first Colonel Luis Angel Macarano to deliver a remark.
Aunque no lo puedo decir en lengua inglesa.
I apologize for I cannot speak in English language,
Pero sí voy a hablar con la lengua del corazón.
but I will speak my heart language.
En momentos muy difíciles de nuestro país ante el huracán Melissa,
In a very difficult moment in our country because of the damage of Hurricane Melissa,
recibimos una ayuda muy importante, que fue la ayuda de la India.
we received a very important help and support from the Republic of India.
Nos asistieron con materiales de socorro, con unidad especial de traumatismo,
They assisted with the special material for emergency and trauma equipment,
con grupos electrógenos,
with electrogen generators,
con kits de cocina y de higiene,
cooking and kitchen and canteens support material.
pero independientemente del valor monetario,
But the most important is not the monetary value of the contribution.
el valor extraordinario es que siempre se acordaron de nosotros.
But the extraordinary value is that they remember us in the most difficult moment.
Para nosotros firmar ese memorándum de cooperación
For us, the signing of this memorandum
es importante,
is very important.
muy importante. En primer lugar, en los objetivos tiene presente que somos un pequeño estado insular.
Firstly, because we as a small insular island need special support.
Que vamos a seguir desarrollando nuestras inteligencias y nuestra preparación
But also we will keep develop our own intelligence and preparation
porque necesitamos seguir preparando nuestro sistema de vigilancia y alertas tempranas.
because our system of surveillance and early warning should be more prepared for the event of this kind.
Esa ayuda incondicional de poder intercambiar experiencia
The contribution to a change experience with country with the same difficulties
fortalece no solamente a Cuba,
strengthen not only Cuba,
nos fortalece al Caribe,
but it strengthens the whole Caribbean
porque el Caribe es un solo pueblo.
because all in the Caribbean we are one people.
Y cada día los fenómenos del cambio climático
And each day climatic change phenomena
y la gestión de la reducción de riesgo y desastre,
and risk reduction gestion
que está
management
en la agenda especial de CDRI,
is on the agenda of CDRI.
para nosotros es indiscutible el valor que tiene para poder resistir, ser más resiliente y poder vencer las dificultades que podamos tener.
And
Muchas
for
gracias.
us is primordial to resist and mitigate the impact of climatic events. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you also for highlighting the SIDS agenda is important to CDRI. I want to also acknowledge that Jamaica actually represents all SIDS in our executive committee. So, we are making sure that we are here to respond to your asks. And so thank you for also acknowledging. In Cuba, I've had a chance to meet you now a few times. And every time I speak to Colonel, he always reminds me that Cuba actually has solutions that need to be brought out of Cuba to the others as well. So we're also looking forward to bringing those out. Thank you so much. I think, Chandan, you've got the next round of discussions.
Thank you, DG. We'll now move to our next segment. That's a panel discussion. I invite my colleague Rayana Singh to moderate the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chandan. Hello, everyone. My name is Rayana Singh, and I am the lead specialist for the Global Infrastructure Resilience Report 2025 that we launched just this morning. We are talking about partnerships and solutions for collaboration in this session. And the GEAR report that we just launched this morning is an excellent example because we had a great group of partners who collaborated to deliver that report. We had more than 50 experts who joined us for that collaboration, and we had case studies and contributions from more than 40 countries as part of that report. So with that, let me begin this second round, which is a technical panel with very distinguished experts who have joined us this afternoon. May I invite Mr. Orghur Sinha Roy from ADB to join us on this panel. We have next Director Maka from Ministry of Meteorology, Energy, Information, Disaster Management from Tonga. Director Maka, if you could join us on the panel, please. We have Mr. Kennedy Mateka, who's joined us from the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development in Kenya. Kennedy, I invite you on the dais. Then we have Ms. Rosalia from CNCC in Dominican Republic. And last but not the least, we have Director General Carlos Carrillo Arenas from Colombia. Director General, I invite you for this session. So this is the panel that we have, and let me begin by just saying that we heard the speeches before the MOU signing and how different delegates from various coalition members of CDRI talked about how the coalition is coming together in advancing the agenda of disaster resilient infrastructure. In this particular session, we want to understand that what are the challenges that countries face, what are the solutions that are already emerging when it comes to regional cooperation and partnerships, and what could be CDRI's role in advancing these solutions and advancing the partnerships. So let me start by with you, Orko. You come with more than 20 years of experience in the Asia Pacific working on adaptation action. So from where you sit, how does building resilience start to shape long-term economic and development outcomes? And how do you see, CDRI as a coalition coming together in this? Where should the resilience agenda come in?
Sure, thank you, and thanks for having us, and congratulations to CDRI for a growing membership and the great work you're doing. Very happy to be, part of it. I think in today's time, resilience is no longer an option for countries and partners. It's an imperative if you really want to steer long-term development in a resilient direction, then disaster resilient infrastructure is a must. So, we heard from colleagues in the past, Armenia talked about, damages from disasters. So when a road damage affects Armenia, it affects its economic development in terms of trade. When in electricity supply damage affects Indonesia, it affects not only Indonesia, it affects the export of electricity to other countries, right? And when schools in Pakistan or Philippines get stopped because of extreme heat events, huge educational impact. So we will see this more and more trend where increasing risk will lead to compromise of development outcomes. But with that is also related on the financial side of it. If countries are getting battered more and more by big disaster events, extreme weather events, for example, it will affect their credit rating, ratings. As a result, borrowing will become more difficult for them. So it's a huge implications over there. And lastly, also there are a lot of legal implications can also come. Like institutions like ours, we have got new safeguards policy, which is a compliance policy. As a part of the policy, we have introduced climate change standards, which climate is becoming a compliance issue. It's no longer a good thing to do, it's very much a compliance. So if something goes wrong there, then could be legal cases also. So I think from a development outcomes, from financial risk, from a legal side, it's becoming very complicated. So in that landscape, not thinking about resilience is no longer an option for any one of us, and we have to go ahead with it. And lastly, I think from what value addition CDRI plays, I think the scale of the problem is so big that this problem cannot be solved only through projects or investments. You have to have much more sustained efforts to strengthen institutions that deliver country systems. So CDRI's perspective of working closely with governments to help government develop and strengthen their systems that deliver resilience is the best way forward, I would assume. Thank you.
Thank you, Argo. I think you have raised two very important points. One, the impact on economic development, right? And then I mentioned the Global Infrastructure Resilience Report that we launched this morning. And if you see, if you look at the messages of the report, then it actually shows that the impact on macroeconomy is 7 to 10 times of what you see in terms of impact on infrastructure assets. Also, I think about your point regarding developing capacities of institutions. Now, again, that's something that from CDRI we are very working closely with different member countries. And again, I would encourage all our audiences here to I'd keep reiterating and go back to the report, because again the report talks about very important lessons of practice from governance and institutions that we have captured from across the coalition. So on that note, let me go over next to Rosalia. Rosalia, we have seen recently how the Hurricane Melissa has impacted the islands in Caribbean nations, and it reads the fact that infrastructure is critical for communities and economies to develop, and resilience of infrastructure is critical for resilience of communities and economies. So as you advance your NAP priorities, what do you see as key drivers for turning the ambitions under the NAP into reality?
Okay. So, yes. Well, we think that enablers that can be considered essential for turning adaptation priorities into development and resilience outcomes are many. So, some of these have already been integrated into most of our public policies and strategy plans, and these must include or integrate governance and institutional framework, because when we turn adaptation into national plans, sectorals, and budgetary planning, that facilitates, supports, and ensures informed decisions making and feasible implementation. To the access to concessional credit lines for resilience investments that ensures the key instruments that reduce economic risks and enable bankable projects in this sector. Also, technical and financial capacity. Mean having trained personnel and or training capacity, so that technical staff are available to provide the necessary support. This also includes working from an inclusive approach with measures that project the most vulnerable livelihoods, and data availability, for having data to feed a monitoring system that is essential for mapping local risk, which must be measured by clear indicators and reliable information to resolve and safeguard investments.
Thank you, Rosalia. You've raised several points. So you talked about risk, information, and assessment. You talked about concessionaire agreements. You talked about, the resilience, the invisible strategies for resilience. So actually, across different governance frameworks, you also talked about how integration can happen in the plans, right? So from you, I'll come back to you with my next question, but maybe let me next go to Director General Carlos Arenas from Colombia. Director General, we have seen that Colombia is showcasing strides in strong governance frameworks, and you are extensively working on governance frameworks, as I understand. So, how do you see disaster resilient infrastructure getting anchored in the governance systems, in codes, and across the work that you do, as part of the planning processes?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm very pleased to attend this COP, and also in this gorgeous city. It's my first time here, so. Well, Colombia has a legal framework that it's clearly inside all these Sendai framework and the sustainable development goals and everything, but sometimes that legal framework clearly is not enough, or it's just a dead letter. So we have to go further that legal framework, because when you read the law, when you have this kind of discussion, when you write the plans or whatever, everything works, but then when the disaster actually arrives, it's not useful. And well, of course, we have advanced, we have a law that was issued just 12 years ago, but it's working, that when we face disasters like Iota, exactly 5 years ago, that happened exactly 5 years ago, and completely destroyed one of our most beautiful places in the country, that is Old Providence. 5 years after that, the money actually is vanished. It's not just about collecting money. We got the money. For that project, the Colombian government raised something like $500 million, and now people's living in shelters. We still have one of these, some of these UNHCRD housing, these temporary dwellings. We still have some of them in Providence. And after $500 million in 5 years, the reconstruction progress still going on, and some people still living without a roof. So what happened with that money? So it's a political responsibility, and although we have the legal framework, it doesn't really work. It doesn't work for the people. So talking about resilient infrastructure, of course, in Colombia we have this legal framework and whatever, but when you see what happened with the infrastructure, and I will go back to this example in Old Providence, my institution, the institution I'm running, I'm the general director of this UNGRD, that is, the highest institution in the country. We pay for the infrastructure to private constructors, and now we are into a massive legal issue with them. We have the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We have the Leaning building for the Navy, and nothing is working. The fire brigades station, it's just have done with rotten wood. We had all kind of issue there. We have illegal wood bought from narco groups, etc. So it doesn't matter what we talk, it doesn't matter what we discuss, it doesn't matter the legal frame we have, if we don't make this a priority into a society, if we don't make this a priority into the decision makers, into the politicians that actually make decisions, nothing is really worth it.
Thank you. Very strong point. So I think I'll pick 2 points here. So one is about the pace of reconstruction. You talked about how after the disaster, the reconstruction is still going on, and that in itself increases the economic costs, right? So one of the other messages that we see from the Global Infrastructure Resilience Report that we have just launched is that when the pace of reconstruction is slow, over the 20 years, for example, that impact on macroeconomy is 7 times the impact on infrastructure. But if the same reconstruction is done faster, say for instance in 10 years, the economic impact comes down. And if it is done in 4 years, this impact from 7 to 10 actually comes down to almost like 2 to 3 times. So there is a drastic decrease in the impact, economic impact, if the pace of reconstruction is quicker. So that's one thing, that is something that we are taking on from this analysis, and something which may be of use, when countries are investing in not just absorbing shocks, but also in terms of recovery after the disasters. Another point that I'm noting from your remarks is about, from reactive approach to making it a priority, which is very critical. And on that note, maybe I'll go to our colleague from Kenya. Kennedy, if I can ask you, because in Kenya, we understand that Kenya has been, is very actively working to move from a reactive approach to a systemic institutional change for resilience planning. So from your perspective, how is this translating across institutions and in processes?
Thank you for the invitation and being part of this conversation, and also thank you for admitting Kenya. We recently joined the coalition barely 9 months ago, and we look forward for enhancing our collaboration and partnership with each and every one of you so that we not just make Kenya a resilient institution, or rather as a resilient country, but also to the region. I'm saying this because Kenya shares the Great Rift Valley with several countries, and Rift Valley in itself is an active volcanic site and really has affected not just Kenya, but quite a number of countries around ourselves. And that itself is an unprecedented occurrences that has really affected and cut off several infrastructure that most countries have invested in, including Kenya. And the last 2-3 weeks, we have experienced such a case in Kenya, where our active sites around, or rather, most areas that are habited within the Rift Valley then have been affected in one or the other. And these are some of the reasons why we feel there's need for us to strengthen how we approach disaster preparedness on our ends. We have institutionalized quite a number of initiatives so that we strengthen our preparedness, our readiness into being when issues around disaster do arise. We have ensured that we have necessary legal instruments being in place. We have a national disaster risk management policy and an act of parliament around that, which has created several institutions so that we can easily respond to disasters that do arise. We have a national disaster operations center. We have a national disaster management unit that is dealing with all matters of disaster that may arise in different ways. But within the infrastructure sector, we have a multi-sectoral coordination agency, which is coordinated by our ministry, dealing with several issues and several stakeholders being put in place so that we could easily deal with issues of disaster that they do arise within our sector. And therefore, the multi-sectoral agency is a relatively young institution in terms of capacity. It's an institution that required to be strengthened, to be capacity built, so that it could deal with issues of resilience, disaster preparedness, and even issues of disaster mitigations and how to deal with them that arise within the infrastructure sector. Whereas we have the National Disaster Management Unit deals with the overall disasters that happen in different sectors, then we found it fit to have a case-specific sector response team, which is drawing memberships from various ministries, various stakeholders that are involved in infrastructure development, and therefore we also feel there's need for us to strengthen the institution that is in relations to infrastructure development in Kenya. We are also keen to ensure that the new building code, because we have a code that has dealt with issues of resilience of our infrastructure very, very keenly. We want to ensure that as we implement the new building code, then, and of course with the necessary provisions that have been put in place in the code to enhance our resilience of infrastructure, then we are also in a position to have ourselves, as we develop this process, then have more counties or our subnationals become the frontiers of how to manage disasters that arise in the development of this infrastructure. So these are some of the institutions that have been put in place in different ways. We have quite a number of legal frameworks, but then the institutions that exist becomes and creates an opportunity for us to even strengthen them up and ensure that as we develop our infrastructure, our resilient infrastructure agenda, then we are in a position to also ensure that we strengthen the institutions themselves in a better way. The second part of the question was on how to move forward. We see collaboration as a key instrument, not just for Kenya, but even for the region and even for the coalition. So we always appreciate the coalition for this initiative, and we look forward that we enhance our collaborations, we peer learn from ourselves, we ensure that we support each other in these initiatives. And as we also move that, we strengthen the very existing institutions that exist in different countries, different parts of this world, so that we could learn from each other. We could develop, global narratives that deals with the very risks that we all face, so that where necessary, whether we are learning from Cuba, we are getting this from Kenya, whether we're learning this from South America and wherever any other country, part of the world, then we are able to have a coordinated response into disasters that our people do face as a team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And so from CDRI, of course, we are, that is the key mandate that we have to bring together different, members of the coalition and to provide the support that is necessary to advance action. And on that note, I just want to mention that in the report you will find some 75 case studies across different themes, including governance frameworks, including nature-based solutions, including how countries are implementing standards and codes, what kind of capacity building is being done. So I'll keep coming to that and keep referring to that, but I think that is something that everyone in the audience will really find interesting. From what is being done at the planning stage in terms of, and also in terms of setting up structures for governance. Let me come to Tonga. We have Director Maka here, and of course Tonga is showing the real world example of what resilience looks like. So what we want to understand from you, Director Maka, is that what has helped Tonga in shifting from a recovery-based approach to long-term planning, and what lessons might other SIDS draw from your experience?
Hello, Lele, and thank you very much for the opportunity to take part in this important event. Well, Tonga's shift from recovery to long-term protection has been enabled by a strong framework, national framework, that embeds resilience into everyday planning. The Disaster Risk Management Act, the National DRM Policy 2023-2030, and the Multi-Hazard Early Warning System Policy 2024-2030 together ensure that risk reduction is part of all development decisions. Partnership with CDRI, UNDRR, and UNITA through the enhancing resilience of critical infrastructure. Projects have strengthened this foundation. Stress testing in 2023 and validation workshops in 2024 identify system-wide vulnerabilities and inform the 2024 roadmap for infrastructure resilience, which sets clear priorities across water, energy, transport, and telecommunications. In 2025, a nationwide critical infrastructure survey with CDRI and SPC assessed more than 6,300 schools, clinics, evacuation centers, and water systems across Tonga's island groups. These findings now guide design standards, retrofittings, and investment planning implemented with the Ministry of Infrastructure and supported by Tonga Emergency Fund. For other island states, our key lesson is ownership. When countries lead their own assessments, build national data sets, and investment and align investment to local priorities, resilience becomes part of governance without building dependency on external projects or actors. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And if I can ask a follow-up question. So, Orko already responded about the role of, what CDRI can play in terms of, catalyzing cooperation. We heard from Kennedy about peer exchange and learning. So, from your perspective, what would be that, maybe one thing that you want to point out in terms of what CDRI can play in terms of catalyzing cooperation?
Thank you. Tonga is calling for one clear commitment from COP30. Predictable long-term investment in resilient infrastructure for small island nations. This means aligning climate finance, development finance, and technical cooperation through mechanisms such as DRI's infrastructure for resilient island states and a global goal on adaptation. We also encourage partners to embed resilient indicators directly into national adaptation plans and national budgets. When every infrastructure investment is measured against its contribution to resilience, countries can plan and build with far greater confidence. For seeds, the priority is not only funding. Capability also plays a significant role. I'll give you an example for Tonga. Tonga is investing in its own engineers, planners, and inspectors. Through partnership with SPC, the University of the South Pacific, and CDRI's seeds programs. This ensures that principles of our 2024 roadmap for infrastructure resilience are applied consistently in the design and maintenance of national infrastructure. I'd like to end at COP30. Tonga reaffirms its commitment to cooperation through CDRI and urge global partners to scale up joint action so that resilient infrastructure becomes a backbone of adaptation, community safety, and long-term prosperity for all island nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I've just been told that we are almost up with the time. So if I can just quickly ask Director General Arenas and Rosalia both to just maybe mention one point each about how you think CDRI can catalyze the cooperation.
Thank you. By the way, Arenas is my mom's surname. In Spanish, we use father and mother. So my entire surname is Carrillo Arenas, that is composed of both of them. I think there are plenty of things that CDRI can do in this cooperation, and I'm really happy that Colombia became part of this coalition recently under our administration. I hope we are about to have elections next year, so we never know what's going to happen, but I hope next government will keep up with this and will continue. It doesn't matter if it's an ideological sign. I hope we will continue with this coalition and this cooperation. Definitely, CDRI can help us with methodologies, with stronger technical baselines. There are plenty of things, but I think it's a key thing to have this South-South cooperation. Of course, there is a huge gap between some developed partners and us, but this South-South cooperation it's very important, and it's also important to give this political discussion in our countries. Recently, we have this terrible Melissa hurricane, and the president asked me to help the Caribbean nations. So we sent humanitarian relief to Cuba, we did it to Jamaica, we did it to Haiti, but we are facing a very strong political attacks and opposition. So people is saying, "Oh, we deliver humanitarian relief all the time in Colombia, but we are facing these attacks all the time. Like, why you are sending this to Cuba, that is a communist country, and you don't send that to your own provinces, whatever? Why you are sending this to Jamaica and you don't send it to La Guajira, that is a poor province in Colombia?" And this is really unbelievable. How can we face this? So initiative like this, where we have this South-South cooperation, that somehow this kind of a space is validate, the fact that the countries should cooperate, should share experiences. This is very valuable.
Thank you, DG Carrillo Arenas. Thank you. Very strong point.
Thank you. What I have to say is in the same line of our Colombian colleagues. The CDRI is a regional platform for knowledge exchange and sharing good practices that support the risk assessments and pilot projects, and it's a very important thing. And finally, CDRI is a platform, bring us a platform that not only can permit us let us change, share, share experiences and good practices. It's not just that; it's the facility to can access of funds and different financing and blended financing. So this is a good point.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. And on behalf of CDRI, I want to thank you for your remarks and interventions. Let me just ask Chandan I'll pass it back on to you for closing the session. Thank you very much. Thank you to all.
Thank you, panelists. We'll take a photograph.